ministry that we have at our church. And so I'm going to have them introduce themselves real quick, but we're going to talk about all kinds of things. Hopefully this encourages you, this inspires you, this builds up your faith a little bit, and lets you know that you're not alone. And so first, we'll talk to Karen. Karen, introduce yourself to our viewers.
Sure. Hi, I'm Karen. I actually started attending MOPS first, and then because of MOPS, checked out the church kindergarten in the fall. God willing. My daughter Kate
was on the outing of Canyon Creek. So we moved to Mill Creek, and I found the church before I found MOPS. But I was roughly 7 months pregnant at the time. We have an almost 3-year-old PJ and an almost 1-year-old Eli.
Hi, I'm Sam. I have been attending Venture MOPS for 2 years. We finally got in, Enzo, my son, is 1.
Okay, awesome. Let's talk about MOPS from the get-go. Everyone knows that it stands for Moms of Preschoolers, right? And so what does the community do? What does it look like to be involved in MOPS?
MOPS is for all moms. So pregnancy up through preschool. Sometimes people think because they don't have a preschool age kid, they're not welcome, but really only prerequisites. But we're all in, a little bit different phases or places in life. Some of my very best friends that I can share life with now. And so that's been quite amazing.
Awesome.
Yeah, for me, it definitely rescued me out of isolation. As a new stay-at-home mom, when you have a job that you go to, you have my version of coworkers. There are other stay-at-home moms and working moms that are going through the same ups and downs. And
that's awesome. And Kay?
Tota out to Washington. So we moved when our firstborn son was 3 months old. Support network, and MOPS brought that back to us. That now I have other people that I can rely on and text about whatever, ask questions to, get advice from, and basically just lean on for that.
Sure. We just shifted leadership a little bit. Karen, you're taking over, right? And so,
Sam and I, we're meeting together.
Yeah.
Okay, you guys are doing it together, so that's awesome.
Yes.
So what can we expect? What's new? If a mom wants to sign up for MOPS and stuff, what can they expect for this new season?
Because we are all moms of young kids and we can't safely do childcare right now. So we're doing, we do the second and fourth Thursdays of the month, 8 o'clock. So we're going to do some virtual speakers. We're going to do some virtual activities per group.
Oh, cool. In the parking lot of the church.
Yeah.
And it was every day. Moms were coming out with kids and seeing them. My wife even came out one of the days, and I was like, perfect weather for it. It didn't rain. Well, it rained for a couple of seconds enough, and I think someone else went back over it and re-chalked over it to make it look nice again. And I just thought that was a really clever way of hey, here's a place that you can come and you can interact. And so I thought that was really, really cool. Raising 2 toddlers, my wife and I, we found that it was the hardest thing on the planet. It was just raising toddlers. And I know that there are times I come home and my wife has been with her 2 kids all day, and she's almost in virtual tears, right? And she's like, I failed as a parent today. And the first thing that I do is go meet with someone, get out of the house. I got the kids, and so, but do you ever feel that there are times like that, that you don't know what to do? And so what do? How can you help out a mom who's probably struggling more than ever right now because they might be working at home now, and now they're around their kids all the time, whereas before they would send them off to preschool or, daycare or something like that. And so now they're by themselves. What kind of advice do you give of
the same behind the scenes? Yep, me too. I'm right there with you, is to join MOPS.
Yeah.
And find a community. That's what I do. I text a friend and vent.
And sometimes I just need to let him deal with it so that I can go and reset. I think the biggest thing, advice-wise for other moms, is just people. And for me, I kind of agree with Sam. It's almost a daily thing that you feel like you're failing in some way or another. We can't be perfect all the time. And especially during a pandemic when we're cooped up with 2 crazies.
Yeah.
Or more for some people.
Yeah.
you just have to give it up and let it go.
Yep.
Yeah. The one thing I would add is there are times where you like can't leave the house because there's no one else to watch your kids, or maybe you're not feeling like reaching out necessarily. So I try and focus on something that I can do or am doing well. So rather than feeling like a failure because maybe I didn't cook a good meal, I can focus on like, yeah, but we got outside today and that's amazing. My kids love the sunshine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really, really good. And figure out what activities can we do during this time? How can we get out of the house?
Yeah.
We don't have a yard. So we live in like these it's detached condos. They're like 3-story condos, but like the front yard is a road. And so with little ones, it gets really difficult, and we have to be out there and we supervise and stuff. And so it's important. Are there different things that you guys do that help get the energy out? Because we find out that if we don't get that energy out, that kid's not going to sleep. Like, we have to get the energy. COVID has made it a little bit difficult, you know? And so are there things that you have done or that you've heard about that you're like, wow, this is really cool?
We like to do dance parties. Sorry. We used to go to this music class. And so I have a Spotify playlist of all the music class songs. Partner band. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Does anyone know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like the Dinosaur March song, and I'll pop on that playlist and mark.
Anyone else?
I'd say
I pack my kids in the stroller. I'll run a little bit and then I'll let them out and they can run down the trail or wherever we can go.
Yeah, that's
we
great.
definitely try to get outside when it's sunny.
Yeah. Some valuable lessons that you guys have learned during this season, during COVID, maybe something that you can encourage someone else with of like, oh, I learned this, you know, like I didn't expect to know this. And so we find that we're always learning new things about our kids, especially when you have two, they're so drastically different. Like you keep on wanting to compare. And Maggie always has to come back to me and she's like, Luke isn't like Summer. Summer, you're going to hear her. And so she's going to tell you what she wants. And Luke doesn't. And then Luke gets heartbroken that you didn't somehow guess what he wanted. And so I'm constantly learning about my kids that they're two different individuals. And so I was wondering if there are any valuable lessons that you have learned, especially during this season of COVID, about your kids and about just different tricks that you might find that moms are asking you about.
Got to go do something every day with them and go a long way. So even like almost like a bubble meringue, like this really kind of cool bubble foam, and I'll like put a plastic bin of that out and some scoops and stuff, and Blair, my 3-year-old, will just be so into that forever. Or she'll throw in her little plastic dinosaurs and give them a bath. Like, so just really simplification, and simple goes a long way. I don't have to be doing grand adventures every day.
I can't control much else. I focus on us, and I try and just make each day a good day. So if I feel the morning's not going well, maybe I pull out something off the top shelf that I've been saving. Like we just started doing Light Bright with my kids. And Zachary, the 5-year-old, is obviously much better at it, but Casey loves it too. And she can pull the little pegs up and give them easily distracted.
Yeah. No, I love the whole excitement about everything, like even helping out around the house. They get really excited.
Oh, yeah.
My daughter's like, yeah, I want to help you unload the dishwasher. And I'm like, how long is this going to last?
Right.
Yeah. Like, when's the moment where she's like, that's not fun anymore, Dad? And so,
right. Yeah. Casey gets mad if I do laundry without her.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Hey, I started learning how to do my laundry when I was 8 years old, and now I still do it. And Maggie's like, hey, I love it. I don't have to do the laundry. Like,
that's awesome.
Like our normal routine. So find stuff, like find a tree trunk, things that already exist, but we weren't really paying attention to before, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. And that builds that excitement factor for things that just kind of seem every day, like could get boring, but we try to switch it up so that the kids stay involved. Obviously the baby's not doing it, but almost 3-year-old loves it.
Yeah.
So how does your faith come into play as a parent? Jesus story at night. Like they get excited about that. And I think it's more about that they get to stay up a little bit later because and I'm going to come in with their stuffed animals and I'm going to tell a story through like stuffed animals. And like halfway through, I'm like, they're not getting this at all, like, I put all this effort and they're like, all right, and I did like the Good Samaritan the other day and I took, Spider-Man and, he got beat up and comes and helps him out. Right. And so I'm doing it all through, but like halfway through, they're not really getting it. They're looking at it. They're like, that's kind of cool, but just trying to share my faith with my kid, but also how does it help me to have patience? So how does that come into play with you as a parent? Sam?
Hold on. My cat is banging at the door and it's driving me crazy. So
no problem. Okay, Karen. I swear, animals love Zoom.
Sorry, I don't know if you could hear him banging or not.
No. Animals love Zoom. Every single time they find a way to get on Zoom. I don't know what it is. I don't know if Zoom's
whether in the camera or not.
Thing. Yeah.
Okay. Faith, I mean, it's a huge part of being a mom and being a parent for me. We read a lot of like the Jesus Storybook Bible during breakfast to try to get, because breakfast time can be a whole tantrum fest. But every time we read that book, because, what's the Bible? Of course, it makes Blair like faith without Jesus, without him giving me the strength to have the patience for tantrums. Like it is, it's definitely all Jesus because it is exhausting. It's such a blessing being a parent because I really feel like it is not the first time, but it's like the clearest in my life that I've seen like, wow, like a little bit of how much, that's just a small little bit of how much,
We always go to weddings and I'm actually putting this in my sermon this week. Like, you're the most impatient person. I don't like surprises because I'm not like, hey, we got a surprise for you later. No, just give it to me now. Like, I'm super impatient. But during COVID, God gave me like this, like, overabundance of patience when it came to my kids because I'm like, man, they don't understand what's going on. My son at the time was 4, my daughter's 5, and they don't understand why they can't go to the park except for that there's a sickness, there's an illness out there, but they don't really understand. And so they're cooped up in this house. And I'm like, man, parents are going crazy on Facebook right now. How am I going to expect my 4-year-old to do less? Right. And so just trying to have that patience and that love. But I agree with you, like you really get to see how much God loves you. And by the way that you love.
I don't have a lot to add on to Sam's because ironically, my answer was almost the exact same. Not that we started out our day the same way, but I just can't imagine not having faith as a parent. It seems like that's really my only saving grace when I'm feeling like, how do people get through this? I mean, if you don't have something to lean on and fall back on, I just feel like you wouldn't survive COVID, period. But my biggest thing is we're trying to teach our kids too that God and Jesus always forgive. So, when they're throwing these tantrums and acting crazy, and we know that it's just because they haven't gotten out of the house in a couple of days, God's there to forgive you. I'm there to forgive you. I'm trying to show his love to them.
It's just, I feel like I overcomplicate it for my kid. And so my son's like, I don't want Jesus, I don't want to accept Jesus into my heart because he's going to steal my heart and I can't live. And I'm like, this took a dark turn quick. I'm like, what? I'm like, no, that's not it at all. So just explaining that and getting that, but they love, like, we have worship music playing all the time and just trying to keep that calm atmosphere. Right. And so, it's definitely just trying to create that for your kid. Karen?
I just have one thing to add. So something that really sunk in deep for me, I believe it was Pastor Morgan that said it on Mother's Day this year. So I trust that God gave me my children on purpose and he equipped me to parent them. But then taking it one step further, he knew that COVID was going to happen this year. And he knew that I was going to have my young children this year and that I still am equipped and so remember that if I have, Zachary asks a question and I can maybe explain like, yeah, God made the sky blue. Isn't that amazing? Let's look at all these other things he made too. And just, use those teachable moments.
Yeah. That's really cool. What advice or hope do you give struggling parents? You know, as a pastor, we get to hear about parents that are struggling, especially single mothers during this. You give them? We always want to leave with a segment of hope. And so what hope advice do you?
Just don't isolate. I'm an introvert. I have some social anxiety, so I get that. I understand it. But mothering young kids can be so lonely. And I think one of the things that's great about MOPS is that you don't have to be afraid to reach out, because chances are every other mom is feeling the same things. And if they're not right now, they at least have at some point. And there's always other moms who are looking for a friend too. So you don't have to be afraid to reach out and start that conversation, because you're going to be received. They're going to understand.
Yeah. Awesome.
Same. Yeah, that's what, even just one friend. And MOPS is a great place to start, because there are tons of women. And when I joined, I knew not a soul, like no one. On a whim, and instantly didn't feel as lonely. And like I had this instant community, and have so much wisdom. Yeah, courage to take that step, because you will be welcomed with so much warmth. And we're just so happy for anyone that comes and joins us. So,
yeah.
A full-time job, and it's difficult. I give major props to single mothers. Agree with both Karen and Sam that you really just need to find someone. Be the life for me. I don't have to interact with people. I can stay home with my crew. And I quickly learned that is not me. I'm like an extroverted introvert. So I still need that mom-to-mom connection or friend-to-friend connection just to or whoever.
Yeah. I'm glad that you mentioned that at the end. As a husband, you know, what are things that we can do? And so I don't want to exclude the single moms, but as a guy, if a guy is watching this and maybe, you know, what advice would you give me, you know, of like, hey, do this for your wife, do that for your wife. Because I'm not perfect. I mean, yes, I do. I try to help her as much as I can, but there's some times where I'm like, I'm lost. I need help. So, what would you say?
Sometimes we just need the cheerleader. So, you know, your job or whatever. I noticed, I saw you. I think a lot of it is just acknowledging, like, I see you and I see what you're doing, but sometimes it's just like you really want that other adult that's experiencing this with you to go, oh my gosh, that was awful. Oh, maybe it's commiserating.
Yeah.
And then the other thing I wanted to say, you touched on this earlier, but one of the things I love is when Derek sees this, you know, lets me have my time. And that is so, so helpful.
Yeah.
It is like, wow, like this is like, that's, and if he like takes on, I think acts of service is one of my love languages. So if he will be like, you know what, tonight, like I'm going to do all the dishes, I'm going to clean up the house. Cause I think for a mom, especially a stay-at-home mom, like you're teaching the kids and so the house kind of gets crazy, and then having to like take on all that too. It's like, it gets to be a lot. So if my husband, something I just really, really appreciate. So.
Awesome.
15 minutes. I would be eternally grateful.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, I want to say thank you so much for just volunteering and helping out with MOPS. It is so neat that I have to deal with kids every single day. There was a season where Maggie went to work and I stayed home with the kids. And that happened for about 3 months. And I was like, oh, wow. Like, I didn't know. Now I do. And so even though it was 3 months, I was like, oh, okay. It is such a hard job, and it doesn't get a lot of thanks. And so, but as a church, we appreciate you. We appreciate the ministry that takes place and how many people get connected in the community, which is what the church is for, is just you guys connecting with each other and encouraging each other and lifting each other up. And so thank you so much. I'm definitely going to be pushing my wife more to MOPS and help out with MOPS and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for doing the segment. And for our viewers, join MOPS. If you get nothing else, and just join MOPS. And get involved in a community of people, of other believers. Like that is so important. Not people that are going to be Debbie Downers the whole time, but people that are going to encourage you and walk beside you and love on you and pray for you when you need it most. And so join MOPS, find some incredible women like these ladies here. And I hope that you enjoyed this segment. And thank you.